particularly with the Scenic Rivers program, one of the biggest misconceptions that we come across or find when we're going into an area to discuss the potential designation of a river system, is that people think riverfront property owners think that they will lose the ability to use their property for various activities, or that there will be a portion of their riverfront property, a strip along the stream, if you will, that becomes a public corridor.
I like people to enjoy it. It's kind of hard to explain why it's important to me, because it's just, yeah. Like we were talking earlier, you have to have some control over it, but you want it to be wild, so it's hard to get that gray middle where you can still let people do what they want, but you can also have a little bit of handle on what goes on.
Those of us who are promoting conservation practices are, in a sense, saying you need to do things differently. So if things are working for a farmer right now, and I'm coming in and saying you need to do things differently, there's a natural resistance there to change. And then there are some farmers who are just trying to make a living, and they're trying to do the best that they can for their families and for their community.
It is a balancing act. The largest employer in the state of Ohio is the agriculture community. It has a major impact on what happens in the state, but they also have a major impact on what happens with the environment. I don't think there's anybody out there that doesn't want to have clean, safe water. It's just, how do we get to that point? We need to work with the agriculture community. We need to work with the universities in developing the science and the tools to help us identify where these problems are.
Well, in the state of Ohio, communities are where it's at when you talk about land use planning. All land use planning in the state of Ohio is local, and it is really up to those communities how they develop, what their developments look like, how they manage their stormwater. All of that is up to the local authority.
The area that's actually designated as a Scenic River area, which is 1,000 feet on each side of the river. Some people think that the state is coming in and developing a park along this, maybe 20 miles along with 1,000 feet, and they're taking this land or the land rights away from landowners.
People read into that 1,000 feet on either side of the river as that they're infringing on my land. Well, the law specifically says it does not prohibit private use of their own property, whatever they do.
What kind of easement do you hold? A conservation easement that can't be developed. I'm still a tree farm. I collect sap for a sugar bush. The North Country Trail goes through it. We're allowed to have a trail through it. So it's basically, I gave up development rights.
When we first came here, we decided to talk to some of the agencies and see what kind of programs we might be able to get some financial assistance for. And we talked to the state of Ohio. The stewardship program allows for state foresters to come out and assess your property, ask you what you're interested in having, what you want to enhance, what you want to have on your property.
I don't have to allow people around. I mean, this isn't public property. What I put in the easement is my property. I choose to let the North Country Trail go through. It isn't because I put it in easement, it's going through. It's private property. It's as simple as that. I've talked to different landowners about it, and they just get upset that nobody's going to tell me what to do with my property.
The Scenic Rivers Program authority is very limited. We only have review and approval authority over projects where tax dollars are spent.
Any public project, such as a bridge construction or a bridge renovation or the building of a sewage treatment plant in the watershed, will be subject to review by a Citizens Advisory Council, which didn't exist before the river was designated as a scenic river. So now the local citizenry will have more of a voice in the future of that river corridor.
Well, I like to let people know they're on private property, but also anybody that knows me knows that we're flexible. We like to let people enjoy it, but we don't want an abuse. And that's basically what it is. We figure if you can bring it in and it's full, it should be a little bit easier to carry it out when it's empty. I mean, think about it, right?
If somebody was doing a project where private dollars are spent, only private dollars, we would have zero authority, and we would not be able to tell that person what they can or cannot do.
Our biggest issue really is just people don't trash it up and don't, respect it a little bit. That's pretty much what it is.
Has the Scenic Rivers program ever participated in a taking along a river in Ohio?
The Scenic Rivers program does not take private property by eminent domain. The Scenic Rivers program only mitigates lands from publicly funded projects to acquire land such as a riparian corridor along a stream system just to protect the stream.
We've acquired almost 5,000 acres of riparian corridor across the state, either through what we call a fee simple purchase, which is just buying the land outright, or buying a conservation easement, which is a situation where we basically pay the landowner to leave their riparian forest intact, leave it undisturbed.
When you say, as a private landowner, I'm going to plant 1,600 trees, I'm going to plant 30 acres worth of prairie and wildflower and a few crops, and I don't have a tractor. I may have a few dollars, and now I've got a few more dollars with the assistance of the Farm Service Agency and the Natural Resource Conservation Service, but how do I go next? The Pheasants Forever put us in the palm of their hand.
Most Pheasant Forever members are hunters, but certainly that's not the purpose of the group. The purpose of the group is get wildlife habitat back out there. Build it and they will come, we say. I've been to several of the national conventions, and there's certainly talk about hunting stories and things like that, but you get out in the hallways where the conversations are going on, most of them are about habitat restoration. This will be kind of a non-event, if you will. They're simply going to set some cages down out here, open the doors, and let the quail wander out. There shouldn't be much excitement to it, but it's pretty neat to see quail back in this area again.
When we look for a release site, we look for an area where there's several pieces of habitat within an area, with the hopes that these birds are going to expand and become numerous as they were many years ago. So now that there's a habitat established back, thanks to people like Mary and Pat here, we're trying to restore the population up in some of these northern counties in our district. So we have 35 birds today to release, and we'll continue trapping. We'd like to get about 80 to 100 or so birds out on a site, on one release site. So we'll be doing another release here at the Redden Farm.
We're always advocating to private landowners and public landowners as well, other local governments, state agencies that own land along scenic rivers, to allow a riparian forest to grow along their stream sections.
Trees not only stop erosion, but they shade the stream. They provide this massive amount of food in the fall of the year when all the leaves fall into it, which is the bottom of the food chain.
So our purpose specifically to have the trees here is for their value of their roots. The roots collect and filter the soil and the water that comes through here. It stops the phosphorus, it stops the nitrogen, and those are detrimental to the river. So those tree roots are big, and they get bigger over time, and that's the filter.
When the stream floods, they slow it, and so you don't get the energy, you don't get that cutting energy